Chapter 3, Unfiltered Overgrowth. I could not believe my eyes, even with how little they have been used. I picked myself up, every scale in my body hurting from the fall, and looked up to the pitch-black sky above. Or was it sky? All I knew is that it stretched as far as the eye could see, obscured only by the tall white pillars littered around this rocky plain. I walked over to one out of curiosity to touch it. It was cold, and felt void of life, yet wherever I am, feels so alive. I noticed that in one direction, there were none of these pillars. With nowhere else in sight to go, I treaded toward this empty space to find myself at a cliff. "Ah!" I yelled while nearly falling off. It was hard to notice this from afar. Now I see there is a cliff that stretches as far as I can see. I lean over carefully over the edge to see down below. I saw light of all sorts of colors in small ponds, along with those pillars in all sorts of shapes, almost resembling trees, and the ground littered with piles of sand. The flower must be down there. I whispered to myself. All I need to do is glide down there and search. I spread my wings and readied myself for the flight. This was much taller than anything I have done in the rainforest. But I'm different now. I can do this. I stepped back and jumped into the air with my wings spread and flapped my wings. It was much harder than I had expected. I flapped and flapped, but I soon realized that I was falling. The air was thick, too thick to fly in. "Ah!" I yelled as I swirled around in the air trying to balance myself, but it was to no avail. I kept falling and falling, hitting my wings on the parts of the trees, and I eventually fell onto the ground. I couldn't feel a scale in my body, but it seems as if I'm still awake. I peered my head up, and to my dismay, I was back in the garden. No. I couldn't have. I have once again passed out and landed back into the dream garden. This garden was a comforting place, yet terrorizing knowing how I've failed. "Tamarin, are you there?" That voice once again called, most likely disappointed that I had once again landed back into this dream garden. "Looks like you have passed out again." They assumed I could not fly. I answered as I glanced over at my wings that are still intact. I then paused. Where was I just now? I asked. "The world beneath the rainforest, a world of unfiltered overgrowth," she explained. What do you mean by that?" I asked, surprised. "Didn't that place feel familiar?" she asked me. "I suppose, in a way," I answered, uncertainly if that's how I truly felt. "I'm sure it's nothing like you had seen in the rainforest, but it feels just as alive," she explained. And she was right. It felt just as alive as the rainforest. That world you saw was part of the rainforest. The rainforest with no filter. I sat there in silence. I could not believe what I was hearing. That world that I just witnessed was part of the rainforest. There really was another world under my talons. The weight of everything that's happening is finally crushing me. How am I going to find the Elysium flower? Where in this other world do I go, and how will I know where it is? I frantically asked, trying to break myself from this thought. Like the rainforest, this world is alive and ever-changing. Even with that, it is safe to say that the flower is on one of the lower layers, she explained. "Layers?" I quickly interrupt. "This world is divided into layers. Each layer is different from each other. You could even say that the rainforest you are used to is one of these layers," she explains. "How do I go from layer to layer?" I quickly ask. "There is always a way to go deeper. Just look for something that stands out. That should be a way down," she answered calmly. "How will I know that I am on the layer of the flower? What if I miss it? How will I go back up?" I ask as I stand up. "There is nothing else I can tell you. This is your story, so you are going to have to do this on your own. This is once again your time to wake up. Bye, Tamarin," she states, her voice getting quieter with each word. "Is there really nothing else you can tell me?" I yell at thin air. "She's gone. I'm just going to have to wake up now," I say in a gulp as everything once again turns white. I soon see myself, nose in a pile of blue sand, back in the world beneath the rainforest. As I got up, I noticed that my dream had lied to me. I messed up my wing. I guess I wouldn't be able to fly anyways. I looked around where I had landed. These white trees were huge, with many curves and sharp points. The ground is flat but littered with piles of sand and small ponds emitting all sorts of light. I stuck my talons into one of these ponds and took it out to find it completely dry. I'm getting sidetracked, I thought to myself. I need to find something that stands out as the one in my dreams has told me. Noticing that I had forgotten to ask for him again. I wonder if I will ever know it. I walked around this semi-sandy plain to find the way down. The more I walked, the more everything looked the same. Another tree, another pond, another pile of sand. But then I went closer into a thicker patch of the white trees to find that there was a huge dark hole in the ground. I walked closer to it to inspect it, only for me to fly up into the air and land on my back. "Oh," I said to myself. Before I got blown up, I could only see darkness in the hole. Could this be the way down into another layer? If so, how do I get down with this upcurrent? I step back and fold my wings in to not be dragged back up in the wind. I run at the hole as fast as I can. I got farther down but soon got shot back up to the surface and into a pile of green sand. I did not get down it, but at least I saw down it. I saw an almost sky-colored light at the very bottom of the hole. Now I know that this is the way I need to go. If running and jumping doesn't work, I need to try something else. I need to climb onto the trees around the hole. They are close enough to it that I could be able to jump in. I walk up to one of the large white trees to try and descend it, but my talons just slip off of it, and there is nothing I can grab onto. If only I could get up to the almost platform-looking branches higher up, but I can't climb up to them. Then realization struck me as I glanced over to the hole in the middle. If there is wind, that means I could fly up. I ran over to the hole with my wings spread and jumped in. I flapped my wings but failed to fly as my wings were still hurt. But I had gotten the height I needed. I glide over to one of the platforms on the sides of the trees. Now I can climb up using the branches. Even with the branches, climbing up this tree was still hard as it was still completely smooth. I was able to catch myself before I fell, and soon enough, I got to the top. I had gone higher than I had realized. I looked down to see the drop below me, almost feeling the wind. I was scared to jump, but I knew this is what I needed to do. I fold my wings in as close as I can bring them as I ready myself for the fall. I jumped down with my eyes closed, scared of what would happen, but I landed into the hole. The wind slowed my fall but didn't stop me. I soon fell through the hole into the new layer, only to be blown to the side by another current. Grah! I yelled as I got blown into a rock to land onto an almost grassy platform. I made it, I said to myself as I looked up at the hole in the black ceiling I fell through.